the worst presidential debate I've ever seen. And in my life, a lot more heat than right over some 98 minutes. I want to go to the room right now. John Call, you're there in the room. You cover the president. Your thoughts?
Wow.
The debate was
I don't know what to say.
It was a mess of interruptions, petty insults. I was in touch with some people.
I'm watching the after, but I'm really trying to see your comments. Wow, this has been a debate of sorts. I've invited some folks to join me. I hope that they will come on. I hope that you will come on and maybe share. I'm sorry, I'm tickled watching some of the comments, but maybe share some of the, I don't really know what to say, what you call it. This is very interesting. Okay, some folks on with me, so just drop in the comments. I need to hear from you. And I sent a link to some folks to join me, so I hope that they will. I'm gonna see if they are joining me. Okay, not yet. What do you think about this? What do you say? My goodness. I'm going to turn that down in 1 second. Ah. Okay. Racist, the worst president ever. To tell him to shut up or to shush, normally that would be considered crossing a line. But here tonight, that was part of a concerted strategy by Joe Biden to try and show that he could keep his cool, actually. It's part of an effort by Joe Biden to show that he can be. Okay, and Travis has joined us. I'm trying to get some more folks. Okay, here's LaShawn. Thank you so much. I just, I have to. This is my beautiful daughter, which I'm a young dad, so this I have to give you the backstory to that one day. But LaShawn Phoenix Coteran, poet laureate, your commentary was giving me life. You should have moderated because I felt like Joe Biden wanted to cuss, and I'm not a cusser, as you know. As a matter of fact, people laugh at me if I try to cuss, but I would have gotten it honest. Bless Herbert Holmes' memory, he could cuss you. But I felt like I wanted arrogant cusser because at some point you have to just say, shut up. And I think he said that, but.
So here's the thing, like we've seen Joe in other instances pull the gloves off and be the undocumented nigga that he actually is. I don't know why. I mean, like, I get that he can't be fighting on the presidential debate stage. Like, he can't just lunge over and punch this guy in the throat. But at some point,
correct.
And I mean, I don't know this because I don't have a penis, but I do have a pretty big ego. At some point, as a man, especially when Joe didn't spend any time making personal attacks on this man's family, when his family is completely unqualified, out of control, and his wife is over there suffering in silence. He made no commentary about your family, and these jabs that you were taking against his son, the fact that he didn't say, okay, hold my beer, and just punch this dude's teeth out of his mouth. Also, I saw one of the guys on Facebook, a good friend, Jamel Cotton, commenting on how one of the purposes of the presidential debate is for the candidates to calmly, coolly talk about their views, make the voters understand what was going on. I just watched a CNN reporter say two different ones. One was like, this is a hot mess inside of a trash dumpster inside of a train wreck. The reporter right after him came on and said, that was a politically correct way to put it. This was a shit show on CNN. She just is like, you know, I'm sorry if that comes off crass. That's literally what she just said. My husband was like, can they say shit on TV? I said, I don't know, but they didn't bleep her. She just did.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Trump to be the sitting president in office right now, to lose his cool, to be disrespectful, to continue interrupting to the point that you didn't really know what either one of them was saying. Chris's inability to fully moderate, because I think Chris Wallace wanted to get up out the chair and punch Trump in the face himself. Like, Chris was having difficulty keeping his cool. And at one point, he started to holler and had to pull himself back because he's going to lose every job that he ever had. So this was a disaster. And in the words of the CNN reporters that just came on, America is who lost tonight. We are an embarrassment to the world. This was embarrassing. And I think that we could have brought it home and it not be an embarrassing moment if Joe would have jabbed this fool right in his jaw. At some point, you just got to be a dude.
Yeah. I was happy that he didn't, because he's got that in him, right?
He
has that punch and throw in him. I'm glad he didn't do it. I wanted, though a part of me wanted him to do it. The part of me that knew that he shouldn't do it cheered for him. If you can last 90 minutes with someone who is so narcissistic and also so unintelligent. And so he lasted the 90 minutes. Now, Trump knows that he can jab faster than Joe, especially if Joe is going to, have some restraint. So I was proud of that. But a part of me said, why not? You use the Herbert Holmes card and go in. But I'm so glad that you didn't, because then you relegate yourself to being, you're already in a freak show. Now you're the second freak, right? So you relegate yourself to that if you drop to that. I was proud of that, but my secret part of me was saying, why don't you just hit him? But I'm glad that he didn't hit him in any way, especially after he kept going after his son.
Oh my God, that was painful.
Despicable.
And then when he was talking about the one son who was in the service, who came out beautifully, this fool is like, I don't know him. I know Hunter. He had a problem. He got discharged. And for Joe, even in that moment, to practice restraint and said, like many Americans, my son had a drug problem. He got himself together. He went through what he needed to get through, and he got himself together. Still in that, I'm like, Joe, man, if this fool keep coming after your son, I mean, you're just going to really have to throw them balls. At some point, you got to just stop playing it cool in here. Like, he's being mad disrespectful. The Secret Service would just have to drag us both out.
He could have went in on his kids. He could have went in on his wife's former
stripper life.
He could have done a lot of stuff. So I was
He never touched it. He never touched it. Although, Dad, he did have some very petty moments. Can somebody tell him to shut up? This is the worst president that we ever had in the history of America.
Yeah.
Y'all already know he's a clown. Y'all know he a liar. I mean, like, Joe was taking them Uncle Joe jabs that I wish were real fists.
Yeah. And what Jay Gerald was saying earlier, we kind of did a brief love and stuff earlier. He wasn't expecting that any of the issues were really going to get raised. So now I'm wondering, what do the next debates look like? Because we're not really talking about law and order, right? We're making jabs at each other. We're not really talking about COVID. You would have had 2 million people die. Well, wait a minute. You just projected he would have had 10 times more people based on what? And Joe did good to say, no, we have 14,000 people who died with the swine flu. We didn't shut.
Yes, Joe came with numbers.
Handed you a booming economy. But see, I wanted Joe to say what that booming economy was. He should have put some numbers in there. And he's,
Dad, he doesn't where was he able to even to get a word in edgewise? Where was he able even? Yeah. I mean, every single time he opened his mouth, he was attacked. Yeah. Even the moderator was like, okay, your camp agreed to this time frame.
Right.
And he was like, well, are you going to stop him from interrupting? He was like, actually, man, it's you. More.
Yeah. And he was like, well, he's done plenty. But I loved it. This was the height of his frustration where he said, stop. Because that's what you say to your kids when they are not listening to you. And you were like, everybody freeze. It's that kind of thing. I remember those days. Stop where you are. That was what he was trying, to gain. How else could he gain it except in saying, Mr. President, you're an idiot. Shut the heck up. Yeah. So he's just said, stop.
Yeah.
And I thought, where are we really? Where are we really? We're in a bad classroom, during the COVID time. We're in the bad, there's no sneeze guards. And he just like, stop. I thought it was horrible. And so people are joining. What do you think about this, J. Gerald? It met your expectations, right? You had none.
Yes.
So
You said you had none.
I had none whatsoever. It met my expectations. It you know, it is frustrating to see where we've come from to where we are right now. And he's true to form. He tried to get underneath Joe's skin. I'm glad that Joe did show restraint because for me, I might have I don't know if I could have shown as much restraint.
Yeah.
I think Mr. Trump's style of debate is jab, jab, jab. So that would go well with Senator Harris. If they were, she would have, been a little bit more visceral. I think Joe was just, I got to be middle of the road as it relates to this. And I think he did that well. I just don't know how many of the undecided people understand that, because that's who I'm really worried about, is the undecided people. You and I probably say this is a fool's game, and we've had enough of this game. But people that are on the fence for whatever reason, God bless them. I don't know if they saw Joe as being a smart debater and poised. They just saw him poised.
I
That's
believe
my
that
concern with some of them walking away, because Trump is like, oh no, it's this. And once they do the fact checking, they're going to see a lot of the stuff that he said is incorrect. But in the moment, somebody that's watching the debate who's undecided, because that's where I am today. This is about the people who are dissuaded from voting, or the people who think it does not matter, or the people who I believe are white women. Forgive me, Lord help me if that's wrong, but who are undecided and whose husbands are decided, but they're like, hey, I'm a whole person too. That I want to really see that we have a choice to make between two candidates. And, forgive me, I didn't run. So you don't have three. You got two candidates and you got to make the better choice of the two. So you can't just sit at home and say, oh, they're throwing ballots in the river. I just, I don't know.
And I believe for those those that are undecided, I believe that they saw a clear choice.
Yes.
And I hope so. I hope so. I'm just concerned about that, J. Gerald, because how come they don't see a clear choice before now? I just don't know. I don't know.
Because they're listening to both spins of the same story. You got a far left spin, you got a far right spin. And some people that are clearly in the middle don't really go with either choice, because they're so far to the, like I said earlier, they're so far to the left and so far to the right that they just don't see that. So if you're clearly an independent and an independent thinker, and you're looking for something right in the middle, that why can't we be civil and get along and understand one another and talk and discuss and come to an agreement and a conclusion? That's what they may have been looking for. And tonight, I believe they saw the clear choice. And I hope that's what they're looking for.
I'm going to go to the comments, but I want you to tell me what you thought were highlights of it. For me, one of the highlights that I quoted or tried to quote it, he's talking about the 2 million deaths and having Trump say, it is what it is. And Joe Biden says, you said it is what it is because you are who you are. I thought that was, I love that when he said that, because it's indicative of who you are. You're always caught saying these things off camera or clandestine that really reveal who you are. And the second thing was, Mr. Trump would not say, I denounce white supremacy.
That was one of mine.
That was the big thing for me. He would not say it. Well, what do you want me to call them? No, what do you call them? No one
Right.
should have to tell you what to call them if you're calling them out. So those
Yeah.
were two things that stood out. Let me go to the comments while you're queuing up your two. Let's see. Gloria Davis says, this was horrible. Trump really is some type of weird clown. He has no compassion. Don't want nothing to do with the Black community. As Black people, we got to get our tail out and vote him out. Thank you for that, Gloria. I appreciate that. Michael Kim says, Joe seems to be slow. He seemed too old to fight Trump. But personally, I got to vote for Joe because Trump is all about hate. Thank you for that, Mike Kemp. Mike Davis is here. Kamal says, I have a headache after this. Yep, I wanted to have a drink, but I have to go out somewhere and find out first what to drink. Sean will tell you that. I can't. I need supervision. So I don't know. And Travis, oh, there you go. Facts is he doesn't even care about Breonna or George Floyd. He didn't want to comment on the issue because he did not even care. He don't care if police kill Black people. He just not right to be a president. Thank you for that. Tarnisha Macon has joined us. Thank you so much. Andrew says only saw the last 7 minutes of it. Oh, you missed a lot.
You missed everything.
Usually I listen to the aftermath by news reporters. I didn't hear much of Joe being uncontrollable as Trump. Yeah, they had moments when they were sparring like they're on the playground. They had those moments. NBC News Chuck Todd said this was a train wreck and we know who wrecked the train, the president. Savannah Guthrie and Lester Holt said, I have no words, never seen anything like this. Getting texts, people saying, I'm tuning this off. It was hard for me, Lena, because I wanted to turn it off, but I don't know. Am I addicted to reality TV? Because that's what it was. I don't know. Bilal says, agree, did not say it. So no person of color should vote for this unpresidential clown. That's where I am. And I'm wondering where the people who are the 14% who are undecided are, because he had the perfect opportunity. He said, oh, I will. But when it came to it and Joe said, say it, he was like, now what do you want me to call them?
Yeah.
And right there, I thought, if there is any word beyond fumble, because, it's football season, you did it. Because how would you not say, I denounce white supremacy, you didn't say it. So I couldn't in good conscience vote. Hey, Valerie Covert, somebody, I sent you the link. I hope you'll come real quick. This was the worst debate ever, but I agree, Jay However, we know who we should vote for. Thank you for that. This man is destroying every aspect of democracy. Thank you, Val. I hope you'll join us. I gave you that link. So what were your highlights, best 2 moments?
So
my best 2 moments would be first, I'm stuck in between you, Dad, where you said he gave direct numbers on the number of people that died up under the swine flu versus COVID. And the biggest moment of the night, I think, when Trump would not denounce white supremacists. But the second one that was really important for me was when it came down to voter security and the ballots. And when directly asked, how do you think the votes are going to turn out? Joe said, here's a website. Go on and figure out how you want to vote. Do it however it is that you want to do it. You can vote. Vote in your house. Vote with a mouse. Vote on the stage. Vote with a page. However you want to vote, just get out and vote. If it comes down to it and I am actually the winner or the loser, I'm fine with however the voting process goes. Mr. Trump, please tell us, how do you feel about voting, voter rights? It's a fraud. It's a fraud. It's a fraud, 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 fraud. Like, that was pure insanity. And I think it is part of his branding to suppress votes at this point. He is trying to scare people out of voting. So to all of the people that you're webcasting to, and I hope that everyone who checks in for this post-debate love and stuff, that you would share this widely. If you're never one of the ones who likes to share things on your page, you need to share this widely. Sure, we've got some commentary on how Joe should have been fighting. I get it. But you need to vote. Vote by mail. It's safe. Vote in person, it's safe. If I had a personal preference on what I would ask you to do, I would implore you to mask up and vote in person. However, if you are concerned about COVID, which you should be, if you are concerned about going outdoors, or you don't want to play, or you're older and it's just not up for you, then vote by mail. But whatever you do, vote. I would prefer that you vote for Biden. I don't care who you vote for. You need to get out and vote.
And
Share
Gerald, what were your
widely.
two?
Share it widely.
Yes. J. Gerald, what were your two moments?
So my two
And Val
moments.
Colbert is joining us.
So at first I was going to go with the two negative moments, but I'll give you a positive moment, and that was when Biden said that he wants to make it about our family and my family and his family, and then he turned to the camera and he said, "But this is about your families."
Yes.
I believe that was one of the biggest highlights for me, because it is. It's about our families. It's, you know, we've been marching in the streets. We've been talking about it, and about voting and about getting this man out of office. But now the fight is in our corner. It's our fight. It's our fight, and we have to vote, and that's where the march starts. And we've got to make sure that our people understand that our march doesn't start now. That march actually, well, it doesn't start in the streets. And once something happens, our march actually starts at the voting booth. And we've got to teach, and we have got to let people know that if we don't vote in every election, this Breonna Taylor thing is about the prosecuting attorney.
Yeah.
That is a local election. That's a primary. I mean, that's a off presidential election.
Talk about
We've
it,
got to
bro.
get the right people in office at the local and state levels, as well as at our regional levels, before we even talk about the presidential debate, because they have more. They have a bigger what's the word I'm looking for? Impact on us than any presidential election will ever have on us.
Yeah.
So let me go back. I'm sorry.
I'm
Let me
gonna jump
answer
in
your
here.
question.
I'm gonna come back to you, because I am. I want to make sure you do answer the question, but I want Val to jump in here. And good evening, Val Colbert. Appreciate you coming on. We were talking about our two things that were takeaways from this. I want to call it reality show, but from this debate, what are the two things that are your takeaway from it? Two highlights.
Well, I'm going to start with, I'm saddened that the last vestige that this man of democracy, because I'm a student of the Constitution, I'm a student of law, the last vestige this guy just destroyed is the presidential debate. I mean, this was heartbreaking to see. And not only are we witnessing it in this country, they're witnessing this around the world. I was watching something the other day when they had a reporter in one of the countries in Europe, and he said one of the things that Americans don't realize is just how much American politics are followed around the world. And, you know, we look at it as this is just our business and our dirty laundry. Our dirty laundry, our democracy that we like to put out there for the world to emulate is destroyed, is being destroyed. Yeah. And this, I actually think this was probably Trump's scheme all along. I wonder if we'll have any other presidential debates after today. This is some of the things, I mean, with these two candidates, these are some of the things that if you're not going to follow the rules that your campaign set up, then, you know, why are we here? Then
now,
why should I come? Why should I come back?
That?
Who
really expected him to follow the rules? He is not following.
I knew that there would be some bullying. but I did not expect this.
Girl, right. Say that.
I knew that
Yeah.
there would be some bad aspects of this,
Yes.
but I didn't expect this. I thought him to be a little bit worse than what it was with Hillary Clinton, because he was kind of tame, at that point in time. But I did not expect this. This has thrown me for a loop. But one of the comments that I had, the takeaways, was, I think, what everyone else has said. When this man could not denounce racial white supremacy, and then when he threw up that Obama left all of these judgeships unfilled, never mind Mitch McConnell and the Senate blocked every attempt for him to fill those seats. As a matter of fact, the seat that this Amy woman is sitting in right now, he had a Black female slated for that seat. So I'm just blown away.
Yeah, I was hoping that Vice President Biden would throw some jabs there, because there is a lack of color among these judgeships anyway.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, there's just some, he's kind of slow to the draw, but I bet, if there are more debates, and I think you raise a good point. What if the president says he doesn't want to debate anymore? Is that how that happens? Does he have to debate?
Or Biden feels that it's not even profitable to debate.
Yeah, they were just saying on CNN that they have concerns on whether or not they're going to be allowed to debate in the space again. They said this might be a one and done because of this presidential debate, just like you said, Valerie, it has worldwide ramifications. Like, the world is looking at us, and America is this supposed superpower. We can't have mama and daddy and daddy and daddy fighting like that,
Right.
because now we start to look weak, and this kind of behavior causes wars.
Yeah.
This is problematic. We don't look like strong leaders of the free world. Putin is over there rubbing up his mittens right now. This is going to be crazy.
And that's why I said this may have actually been what the outcome Donald Trump wants, because I don't want to go back on that debate stage. I don't want to give Biden the opportunity to get his plan out there. However it is, however much he can do it, I don't want him to be able to do that. So maybe that was his plan all along. We'll see.
Yeah. Back to you, Jay Gerald, because I cut you off. You were getting to your point. I'm sorry. I wanted to just mix it up a little bit. So I appreciate your patience with that. What were some of the things that were highlights for you?
So the second one for me was when he was given the opportunity to talk about his response to COVID. And his response ended up being, I brought back football.
Yeah.
Dog. Talk about it.
And I said, I don't believe that given the opportunity to talk about the number of people that have died, even if you didn't say, I'm sorry, or it was my fault, or I'm just to acknowledge that number and take ownership of that number. And what's your plan going forward? But to bring up, I saved football.
And the people of Ohio, they love me. They're happy with me because I brought back Big Ten football. Sir, get them off the stage. Get them off the stage.
Right, Big Ten football at that, Bilal says in the comments. Byron Stanfield is joining us. I don't see your face, Byron, but I'm thankful that you came. I don't know if I can hear your voice. Can you hear me? Okay, maybe he's working out the sound. Because he made a good comment. I was trying to follow all your comments, then y'all were all commenting. I said, I just need to get y'all to come so that you can say your comments here. But he was talking about, we keep saying Biden called them super predators, or he was the author of the crime bill, but we say he's not tough on crime. You can't have it both ways. But I was hoping that Biden will respond to that in some way, because Trump is trying to present that he's tough on crime, right? Law and order. He's trying to present that. Do you think he made any traction about this law and order tonight?
Sure. And I mean, just by over talking, he did. Also, and just in statement of facts, it wasn't Biden who said anything about the super predator. That was actually his predecessor, Clinton. So you already had that debate. I think what's problematic about Trump is that he just lets anything come out of his mouth, and he is so flagrant with it that people have full buy-in. And I think if there was anything scarier, so what's scary is that while Biden was very tamed and he tried to stick to the script, even though he became slightly unhinged, he didn't go full Uncle Joe on us like I was hoping, but he became slightly unhinged. I think Trump's aggression plays into the Law and Order folks. I think that hot, aggressive, male, masculine, hyper masculine. I think that was a win for his campaign tonight. And that is why I'm going to reiterate every single time that I speak. Please distribute and share this widely. Please do not be afraid to vote. Y'all need to vote. You got to vote because he is trying to sabotage the American voting process.
Yeah, he does a lot of those jabs in there. And part of that, when he talked about, I have just about every police, everything is just about every. I have every police union across the country, name one. And Joe was slow coming out of the gate. It's those kind of jabs, I think, that Joe's got to be able to rebound.
Yes.
I think part of that is you can't respond to everything.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
You can't respond to everything. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that you try to learn in debate or when you're in front of a jury or some of the things that they teach you is you sometimes have to be the opposite of your opponent. If your opponent is a hothead, sometimes you got to just bring it down and be the cool one. If your opponent is a cool one, you got to elevate your emotions sometimes. I think that he's trying to, his camp is trying to keep him from being unhinged. And there were times you could tell he was getting there.
Yes, girl.
And he had to damp it down. You could see it, that he was almost there. And it's amazing. If this wasn't on the debate stage, we might have seen some fisticuffs.
I wish we would have, but yeah.
Yeah, LaShawn was saying that earlier. And a part of me was saying, let Herbert Holmes arise in him. And because my dad would have cussed him out by now, bless his name. But a part of me was saying, hey, this is good that he's able to keep his composure because I'm not quite sure I could. Hey, Byron Stanfield, you say it's freezing on your end? I see you are frozen on my end. Can you all see Byron?
Yeah, he's frozen on mine.
He's frozen on my end too.
Okay, we're gonna see what we can do.
I don't even see him on mine.
Okay, because I want to get him in the conversation. I see him on this camera and he's frozen. Yeah. Okay. So what about? So we talked a little bit about law and order. I think that Joe could have been stronger on systemic racism and that whole conversation. What do you think? Do you think he was strong enough there? Do you think that's a strong point for him to be driving home?
I thought he should have laid out his plan for Black people better. I thought he should have actually talked about the actual plans that are in the platform to benefit African Americans. He talked about it in like broad terms, but not in specifics. And I think those are some of the things that, people need to hear in order to, understand why to vote for him. I mean, I don't need a reason. All I had to do was see this man on stage and know why I'm not voting for him. But for those people who still claim they need a reason, I wish he had been more specific on what his plans are economically to assist at the African American community, as opposed to the more lofty thoughts that he put out there.
And Valerie, let me piggyback even on that. I believe that even he needs to talk to the people and ignore the noise that's coming from that other clowns in his words, that other clown's mouth. Because it's when he talks to the people and lays out the plan for the people, that's when he's at his most effectiveness.
Yeah.
And we
have
saw
to-
highlights of that. I'm
when
sorry,
he-
Valerie. We saw some highlights of that tonight when he, like Jay, when you said, you know, he pointed towards he pointed his face towards the camera and was like, he wants to attack my family. I'm not trying to attack his family. This is about your family. Like if he could keep that vibe,
Yep.
Yeah.
I think we'll be, I think he could hit the home run.
Yep.
I'm trying to see if Byron he's still frozen. Okay.
He's still frozen.
I thought that Vice President Biden did an excellent job relative to COVID. I was pretty pleased with him making those contrasts stark enough from the swine flu to COVID and saying you knew in February, you know, do you think that who did well on the COVID part?
Yeah, I think he did well with the COVID part, especially in and you know it was really a layup question that was given by Chris Wallace because he asked about the mask.
Right.
And that right there, and talking about the mask and talking about his own scientists, I think he could have did a little bit better job than even pointing that factor out, that he does not even agree with his own scientists on this whole matter, but he's looking at the companies who will benefit and the companies that will profit from this, and he's listening to their CEOs about how soon they may be able to produce a vaccine instead of listening to the scientists.
Mm-hmm. And back to your point, both points, that when he takes it to a personal level on the COVID, when he said, how many of you have an empty chair
Yes
because someone has died to COVID?
Yes.
That was an excellent statement.
Yeah.
It was like mic drop.
Right.
That was perfect. When he keeps it to the American people and he doesn't allow this fool to ruffle his feathers and get him out of his bag, he shines. That slow, calm, whatever age is doing to him, these are the moments where he shines, where he looks rational, where he looks like a stronger king. But when you could see the exhaustion on his face when he was fighting back, and that internal wrestle. Like me and Dad Marcus, we were talking about this right before we went fully live. Like you could see that wrestling inside of him on, do I punch this fool in his face or do I just chill out? Like I can't be fighting at the debate. I can't be fighting on stage.
Right.
But you saw that internal wrestle, and I don't think that is good for the American people and all of the other nations that are watching us see him visibly going through that divide. Byron, you up. You should talk while you got screen time.
Okay.
Yes, you are. I'm so glad you're here. We were talking about strong points for either candidate or highlights from it. What were the highlights for you, Byron?
There were no highlights.
Okay.
That was embarrassing, and that was I couldn't point out any highlights to you. Like that was literally an embarrassment. That was a train wreck on top of a train wreck, and it was shameful. It was all Biden could do to just kind of weather the storm and keep from stooping to Trump's level. But that was crazy. Like I imagined it would be ridiculous, just knowing how Trump is, but I didn't think it would be quite that bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. And was there anything though that stood out? Any comment that you thought stood out more than the other? Anything that might have went well for one more than the other?
For Trump, for his base, I think what really went well was when he was asked about denouncing the white supremacist groups and mentioned the one group in particular, the Proud Boys, and told them stand by, like basically like just wait for me. When I give the word, y'all go. That's how I took that's how I took stand by. Like that's how I read that. And this is Diet Grape soda. It's not a it's not a libation.
I love libations.
Well,
This is the night for them.
I was going to say tonight, I was going to try to find a drink, but LaShawn will tell you I need assistance when I'm going to go find it. I'm not a person that could go to the store and say, give me a fifth of something. I don't even know what a fifth really is. Give me another year, I might learn it, but right now, I just say give me the small bottle for a hot toddy. That's right.
I got you.
So
I got you.
Your Diet Coke works well, but do you think Joe Biden had anything that he said? So I'm really concerned, Byron, about that 14% that's undecided.
They're not undecided. I don't believe that.
Because let me
just
say
not
this. I
telling.
know folks on Facebook, there is a whole contingent of people that are undecided.
I don't believe that.
I don't know if it's 14%, but I know there are people that went into this debate saying it's the lesser of two evils, and I'm not sure.
I don't believe that.
Okay. Is there anything that you saw tonight that might sway someone who is on the fence?
I mean, I say that because anytime, and the moderator was also pretty horrible. But anytime a point was brought up, like an actual, regarding policy or anything of the sort, Biden couldn't get through his time because Trump was screaming over him and Chris Wallace. So, I mean, I guess, I don't know at this point, what person with any level of common sense is really still undecided. But if they were undecided and they were looking for something in the debate, I don't know what they could have gotten, because like there was nothing really discussed. And then and then Trump jumped all over the place. Like they were in, they would be in a particular segment discussing a particular issue, and then he would jump back to, well, what about the $3.5 million that your son got, or
right?
What about your son being a dope fiend, or just all the noise, like. But with that said, though, I don't know how you see Trump's performance and still decide that you're undecided, though.
And that was going to be what I was going to say to your point is that, if I was undecided, I did see something. I saw my president not be presidential. I saw a child debating for a presidential election.
And mind you, now this is the incumbent.
Like a child. This is not the first time we've seen him on president.
No, but if I was still undecided, then I would have been like, this is really a child.
This is the incumbent president that's supposed to be standing on his record now.
Right.
And none of that happened tonight. This is what how the incumbency is supposed to. You're supposed to stand on your record. None of that happened.
And you're
Well,
supposed to articulate what it is.
Right.
And he don't want to focus on that. So that the pandemic is a big part of his record. So he's got to do everything he can do to pivot away from that.
Andrea saying, don't be scared of the defund police. Mr. Chance to explain what that means to the community. So, I think
he did a good job on that.
asked about what is this new police policing that you envision. Do you think Biden answered that question? And what do you think about?
I thought he answered the question. I thought he did a good job in answering that question. Quite frankly, I thought he did a good job. He talked about it's not defunding. It's getting more money in. It's actually your budget that takes away money from community policing, from us allowing to have more money in these local police departments to have adequate people there to assess situations, so we don't have the police making those kind of judgments. I thought he did a good job on that.
And speaking of that, because at the same time, he was also, I think he did a good point of saying that the Democratic agenda is now me. I am the Democratic agenda.
Yes.
And he took ownership of whatever that the agenda is going to be. He's going to lead it, and he's going to be the one that's going to either say yay or nay to it.
That was
He sounded like a leader. He sounded like a leader. Like it was less I politics and more whatever the whole is trying to vote. I am the messenger for the entire Democratic Party, and I loved how he took that authority. But doubling back slightly to Dad's original question on that 14%, I just want to be transparent. As uncomfortable as it makes me feel, is that both camps are going to have some very strong things to say. Trump's camp is going to say that he was a solid aggressor, he was strong, he was a pit bull in this situation, he didn't let Slow Joe get a word in edgewise, he stood his ground. And then you're going to have what the Democrats are saying right now, that this was a shit show, it was an embarrassment to the United States of America. It could cause potential damage in the long run. These two might not even be able to get into a room together again. So I think that 14%, I feel like 8% might have gone to Biden and the rest has gone over to Trump. I definitely feel like Biden was a front runner, but Trump did not lose his camp, and he might have gained a few people by how strong he was in the debate.
I don't know if he ever was going to lose his base, but
of course.
But to your point too, though, is of that 14% that I don't believe, but anyway, of that 14%, some of those were, and I think that's important to note that were these so-called suburban white women who do not like those kind of antics.
Yeah.
They do not like those kind of antics.
I was gonna say the same thing. Like his base, his 35% probably loved that, and they were jumping up and down. But those more the people who might have voted for him the first go around, who are not diehard MAGA people, like you said, suburban white women, college educated white women, even some older white folk who, like I said, are not diehard Trump MAGA people. That behavior, I don't think went over well with them.
Yeah.
At all. He only satisfied his base. He did not expand on his base at all. I don't believe he gained anything tonight. He might not have lost anything, because I don't think that 35 to 38% that he has, he's not going to lose it. Like he said it himself, he could go out and shoot somebody in the middle of the street and wouldn't lose any support amongst his core base. So he didn't lose, but I don't believe he gained anybody that was diehard, anybody who likes the way he behaves, anybody who likes that aggression and that rudeness and that arrogance and that mean spirit, mean spiritedness that he exhibits, they were already with him.
Bryce, do you think that he had the ability? So say he didn't win any new votes, if I agree with that. Do you think that he halted some folks from voting? Because I did see, or from doing write-in votes, because I saw on my cousin's page, a Black man. Y'all know we don't have to pick the lesser of two evils. We can always write somebody's name in. And a name written in is still a vote for Trump.
Exactly.
Well, you know what?
So you picking
So
the
that's
lesser
why
of
I
two
feel like
evils.
he's gaining, Valerie. You know what I'm saying?
But, well, I think the lesser of two evil people were going to do that anyway as well. Like
fair.
the people that I interact with, or the people that I see who talk the lesser of two evil stuff, those are people that really are not, they either don't vote or are never enthusiastic about voting in the first place. You got to remember,
Yeah, that's right.
you have to remember that at least 30 to 40% of eligible voters, of the eligible voting electorate, doesn't vote anyway.
Yep.
So you always gonna have that contingent of people that are too lazy to vote, or too lazy to be informed, or they think they smarter than everybody, and they're like, oh, both sides are the same, so I'm just not gonna choose. That contingent of people is always there anyway. So they wasn't going, so just like his base wasn't going nowhere, those lesser of two evil people, they was gonna be what they were anyway. They're always around.
So let me ask this question. Based on that 35%, are you saying, let me make a statement first. So I would agree that maybe 35% of that 14% will go to Trump. Would you agree with that?
Of the 35% of the
14% of the 14% undecided.
No, I don't agree with that.
I do.
I think Val doesn't agree that 14% is real.
Oh, well, right. She doesn't think the 14%.
Okay.
And I think
Okay.
that the 14% composes of some folks who won't vote anyway.
Right.
Right? Is that what you're saying, Byron?
Yeah.
And I agree with that as well.
So Phoenix, who do you think he persuaded? What group of people do you think he persuaded outside of his base? Who do you think he persuaded?
I think they're still within that 14% or whatever percent you want to agree with or not, within that percentage of undecided voters. I think that white conservative women, whether they agree with the battering ram antics, don't agree with Slow Joe. I think that seeing this strong, virile, aggressive white man that their husband is going to vote for has swayed their vote. They're going to vote their husband's vote.
So, but they're not undecided though.
But they are.
If they're gonna
vote,
vote,
actually are on the fence.
If they're gonna vote the way their husband is gonna vote, are they really undecided?
Right, they were gonna do that anyway.
Yeah.
Fair. Bryce's assertion is correct. Like, I definitely lean more with Bryce when he says people, if they were going to vote that way, they were going to vote that way. It was really nothing that we really could have done about it. I personally feel like there was an obvious front runner because of how I'm cut. However, there are gonna be people who see Trump as a strong, clear-minded, at least as going as a pit bull. Like, he was ferocious in his attack, and they liked that shit. And Joe did not do his regular. Tonight, just in fairness, like, even though he got some heavy hitting points, like, I know that Joe on the COVID point alone swayed some undecided voters all the way over to him. And I think he possibly solidified the Black vote in ways that he did not have an opportunity to work for when he said, did you get up this morning and look at your table and one of those chair seats were empty? When I say that that appealed to most of the Black church folks, the hood, everybody Black dead right now. So we with Uncle Joe. However, Trump did not have any delay on his behavior. He was ferocious. And some people will look at that as he has the stamina to go the distance. And I think that that's going to sway people.
I agree. I agree with the point that you make as far as saying that, you know, there are a contingent of people that are going to see that as him being, you know, strong and tough and virile and all of that. The only thing the only point where I differ in is I just feel like those people are already with him.
Underhandedly, yes. You think they fake undecided.
No, I don't think the people who like that, the people who gravitate toward that, they weren't undecided. Yeah. You know, like, first of all, again, I'm kind of with my sister. Like, I don't even believe that undecided.
Yeah, Valerie don't think the undecided. She thinks people have climbed their sides of the fence.
Yeah, I think the undecided. I think some of the undecided are folks that just wasn't going to vote anyway, and then I think another percentage of the undecided were people that were probably going to go for Trump anyway, but are like too embarrassed to admit it.
What do you think about new voters? About first-time voters? I just got my opportunity. I'm getting ready to cast my first vote. What do you think about new voters?
I think that Democrats do or have been doing a better job of engaging new voters. Because think about this, and I've shared this on social media a couple of times. There was a gentleman named Paul Raywood, and he was what some people call or refer to as the godfather of the modern day conservative movement. There's a clip of him speaking, I think back in 1980 at a Republican meeting, at one of the conservative meetings. And he said, he's on video and he's stating that some of our Republican fellow Republicans, you know, they're good government people and they want everybody to vote. He says, well, I don't want everybody to vote, because when everybody votes, our advantage in the voting populace goes down.
Exactly.
So the GOP is not interested in bringing in new voters. They are the party of voter suppression.
Right.
Because when people stay home, when people are apathetic, when people feel like they're choosing between the lesser of two evils, it benefits them, because people who are conservative don't think like that. They go out and vote anyway. They don't stay home. Conservative voters do not stay home.
Yep.
It's only people on the left and quote unquote independents and other people who have these you know, where they have to vote their conscience and, oh, I don't like either candidate, so I can't vote for either one of them.
Right. Yeah, that's good.
Or I got to write in somebody or do third party.
Right.
But Republicans, by and large, they do not do that. Nope. They turn out because they understand everything that they want from their government comes from having people who think like them in power. That's so right. Even if they don't like how Donald Trump acts, Donald Trump is going to give them what they want. He's going to give them their conservative judges, their tax cut. He's going to do away with, you know, like he said it in the debate. He said that racial sensitivity training
was racist. Is racist. Yep.
And the folks that are with him, that's how they feel. They believe that reverse racism is a bigger problem than systemic racism against black and minorities.
He actually said it's the reverse. He actually said that. And he went on and he said, we're going to teach our people to love America. We're going to teach our kids to love America.
Because the liberals have taught that America is a racist country, and they've taught our kids to hate America, and I'm going to change that.
Right.
So conservatives, they get it.
They have a long view. They have a long view.
They're much more pragmatic than folk on our side is. Like, what's the saying that they say Democrats fall in love and Republicans fall in line. When it's time to vote, they go, they show up, and
it's absolutely true.
They hold their nose and they vote for whoever got that R in front of their name.
That's right. Very true.
And so is there a sliver, I'm still at this undecided, though I know two of you don't believe in it, of this white evangelical apologist or sympathist who is feeling guilty about this? They're having this moral conflict about racism, and they're on the fence. They want to vote for the guy that's their party guy, but they're on the fence about voting because he's not morally aligned to them.
What's your question?
Well, I think at the end of the day, they feel as though as morally repugnant as he may be as a human being, they feel as though his policy lines up with their values.
I absolutely agree.
So I don't. So at the end of the day, I don't think that they really even have a decision to make.
They're not looking at that. Yeah.
Yeah. That decision they made that decision. And they'll tell you, they'll bring up how David was imperfect and all these other biblical like they gonna conjure up every scripture they can think of, to back their point about how God uses these imperfect vessels to fulfill his purpose. And that's how they
wouldn't it be nice if they were really if he was an imperfect vessel like a David that threw his face upon the Lord he was seeking the Lord. This guy don't seek no Lord. He doesn't see. It's just always amazing to me that they quote those things, and this man has never at any point, 2 Corinthians, has never at any point ever said, they asked him, what's your favorite scripture? Well, I don't know. It's a lot of them. He doesn't know. He doesn't care.
Yeah, I was just about to say it would be wonderful if Mr. 2 Corinthians even knew who David was.
Exactly.
Yeah. What do you think about, particularly in Detroit? I've seen 2 things. One, I've seen larger Black churches that are in support of the Trump regime, or I've seen Black ministries who have correctly seen prophetically, at least for this current term, have correctly seen prophetically that Trump was going to be in office, that prophetic insight has now led the congregations to side with Trump because their pastors prophetically predicted that he was going to be in office, so he must be right. So whoever the prophet sees sitting in the chair, that's going to be the person that we vote for, and that's how the vote is going to be swayed. How do we feel about Black churches supporting the Trump agenda?
Okay. Here's the minister. I totally disagree with all of that. you know, the word says, so let's go to the scripture. The word says you'll know them by their fruit,
That's right.
and his fruit is rotten.
Yep.
And I had to this week, I had to unfriend a pastor friend on Facebook because of that same thing of using scripture to try to sway my vote. I'm looking at this man, I'm seeing what he's saying, I'm understanding what he is saying, I'm understanding the division that he's causing, even amongst our churches, as well as people in general, and his fruit is rotten.
I mean, the word tells us when we have people that speak of apostasy, false prophets, to flee, to run from them, to not even be in their company. So
But is it a false prophecy if they foresaw Trump doing these current 4 years and he actually did it? And so now
you got a 50-50 chance of choosing the right one.
Exactly.
And they won though, Jay.
And
they won.
But you got a 50, so you got a 50-50 chance of prophesizing who's going to be your president.
But just because something is prophesied doesn't mean that it's that person is aligned with God's plan. I mean, it's part of his plan, to ultimate plan to that we know will unfold in the future, but does not mean that that person is walking in God's way.
Valerie, whole black churches
but
now have become trumpets.
Listen,
so tell me who that is so I can flee.
I have to let me tell you offline.
No, don't name no names.
No, I don't
name
want
no
names.
names.
I'm sorry.
Don't name no names.
I don't really mean for you to name names. I just want to flee.
But they're trumpets, and they are attacking family members. They are attacking people within the social media community. They are ridiculing Democrats, and they black. And this dude don't stand for nothing. I mean, he's really only for himself. He's not for white poor people. He's not for black poor people. He's not for blacks. He is for himself and for the ultra rich.
Phoenix,
but they heralded this dude like he's the second coming, though.
Phoenix, this is why even your churches, this is why you can't. You as a follower of Christ you have got to have your own personal relationship with God and hear from God, and not look to that man of God to tell you everything that you need to know about God.
What's it say?
You got to hear for yourself.
If you don't hear,
if you don't know him for yourself, and you don't have a personal relationship, and he's not talking to you, then you need a better church.
Yeah.
Because that church isn't teaching you to think on your own and to talk to God for yourself and follow me as I follow Christ.
Right.
Y'all spicy. I like it.
Valencia Etner is saying in the comments, evangelical blindness.
Yeah.
I mean, isn't that the exact same thing that we accuse the white evangelicals doing?
Yeah, it's the same thing.
Same thing.
I just feel like, Val, for me, I feel like it's just a little bit of a harder pill to swallow, seeing swarms of black people. Like even on Channel 4 a week or two ago, there was these black women that were on the 11 o'clock news who said that they were black women for Trump or something like that. And like they have a whole camp and they're here to educate people on why Trump's values mirror their own, because he's Republican and his values are godly. And I mean, these are sisters who I think, like, just on looking at them alone, are sisters who I would probably share a meal or a cocktail with. And are we so vastly different?
All I got to say is,
I don't understand black people voting for Trump. I
don't either.
Wait, listen.
I'm with you on that.
This goes into so many other areas of deception and everything else when it comes to leaders.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'll just use it as leaders in general. Remember Jim Jones and the Kool-Aid.
And some folks is Yeah.
That's
yeah.
all I'm saying.
Yeah, Jay.
Yeah,
That's all
that
I'm saying.
cult of personality. What I would say to that point is, I wouldn't be so worried about that. You have to remember that in every election, at least for the past 40 to 50 years, the Republican candidate has always gotten anywhere between 8 to 12% of the black vote. I think what you see because of Trump, and not just Trump, but because of social media and the overall visibility of things nowadays, I think when you see those certain black folk, you're seeing an extremely loud and vocal minority.
Very good. I'm with that.
Because the fact of the matter is that 2016, he got 6% of black women voters and about 14% of black men voters. I have no idea what was wrong with those 14% of black men, but that's what it was. So you're gonna have that contingent of black. Now he has, I've heard from some black conservatives that supported him before that really went for him because he was the Republican candidate and they just didn't like Hillary at all, who have jumped off the Trump train.
Yes.
So that, there are still, not every black conservative is a fool.
Right.
Some of them actually have good sense. So, I think they're a very vocal minority, and I think in many cases they have been prompted, and in even some cases probably paid to be that vocal about their choice, because he needs to. And it's so crazy. He goes into the debate saying things like, like I mentioned about how racial sensitivity training is in and of itself racist, and, refusing to denounce white supremacy and all of this other nonsense, but then, turns around and still, will need those black voices and those black faces to put in front of a camera.
Exactly.
And he has the temerity to make the statement of he's done more for black people than any other president, other than the possible exception of Abraham Lincoln.
And that's debatable.
Yeah, that was
on
crazy.
That.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Abe Lincoln is debatable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Valerie.
You didn't know why black men Byron, you said you didn't know why black men would vote for him. Valencia Etner in the comments is saying the black man would not vote for a woman. What do you think about that?
And that's exactly
That's
it.
exactly. That's good.
That's the elephant that's in the room.
That's
agree.
That's one big factor, because and I mean, I won't say where I was at, but over the years since 2016, I've sat in church services where I heard black male leaders basically echo those same sentiments, where they called, they talked about how Hillary was a lesbian and a Jezebel and a witch and all of this other stuff, and how, basically just for having the audacity to be a woman who was seeking to be in a position of leadership. And they just, they just don't believe in, women in leadership. And so that I agree with that. I do believe that there was contingency of black men who just wasn't going to vote for a woman president, no matter who it was.
Yeah.
And your whole church denominations that don't believe in women in leadership.
Right.
So that,
In leadership. Yeah.
Yeah, she's also talking about the Stockholm syndrome is a carryover from love for the oppressor and the need for acceptance.
Yep. And even when it comes to their wives as well. When we talk about all the men, and then how their wives vote as the man votes. That carries over to that as well, as far as them not believing that women should be in leadership positions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Gloria Davis says, it's sad this man doesn't even care about Black people. He says it with his mouth, but his heart is far away from it. He has no concern about us at all. That's why he's not going to speak on white supremacy. He's not in our corner. Please vote. Thank you for that, Gloria. And all of you that are still joining, thank you so much for talking with LaShawn Phoenix Coteran, J. Gerald Harvey IV, Byron Stanfield, and Valerie Colbert Osunwedi. Debate is in the air, but do you think debate will stay in the air? You think that will be another debate?
Well, you'll see Vice President Biden and Kamala Harris debate. I think that might be a little different.
That's going to be a lot.
Yeah, it's not Pence, excuse me.
Harris,
That's
yeah.
not going to be the same. I don't know if you're going to see another presidential debate.
I don't either, Valerie. I think they can't take the risk.
Yeah.
I'm looking at CNN's poll, and they said they said Biden won the debate by 60%, and 28% say that Trump won. Prior to them coming into the debate, 56% thought that Biden was going to win. 43% thought that Trump was going to win, and those numbers drastically changed once the debate happened. So, as far as the Democratic Party needing a win or needing a push forward, I think Joe's coolness and him not being Uncle Joe tonight was a win for the Democrats. I think Trump was a huge embarrassment. I don't think that they can take the risk of putting them both on the stage again, though. I don't think they're gonna act right.
I think the fact that Joe didn't completely lose it when Trump started going in on his son and the drug problem, like that right there alone.
That was crazy.
He showed so much restraint right there.
Right.
Yeah. He kept coming for his kids. And Biden never said anything about it.
Biden never came back on his kids.
He never did it.
And it was a whole lot there to come for, too.
And he said that, too. He was like, I could talk about your kids all day, but I'm not here to talk about my family or your family. We're here to talk about your family. He panned on over and showed that he was still on planet Earth, and I was like, okay, he's not high on drugs. That's what's up.
I thought he handled that very well. Because you're right.
Yeah.
A part of me wanted him to go in, and a part of me was like proud that he didn't. And he said he had a problem. He worked through it, but that's not what we're here for. So I think he worked through that pretty well.
That was brutal, though. That was pretty. Seeing him come for his kid. I don't even have kids. Seeing him come for his kid like that. That was brutal. It was unnecessary.
And I'm gonna tell you that right there, anybody that has had someone in their family, their child that has struggled with that kind of addiction, if his handling that didn't solidify them going to the phone, that did it. The way in which he handled that was very skillful and hard for him to do.
And you could tell Trump was it didn't even come up. It was actually, he was forcing the issue because Biden was speaking about his son who passed away, the one that actually served in the military.
Right, right.
And Trump kept trying to pivot to, oh, well, what about you talking about the one that was on drugs? That's the one you talking about? So it was, that was a strategy. You could tell that was a strategy that he had, that he was
informed to do that.
Yeah.
He was informed to do that.
Yep.
But it fell flat.
It
didn't work because Joe didn't take the bait on it.
Right.
So.
It's 11:58, but I do want to ask you because LaShawn has mentioned it earlier, and I don't know if anybody thought about it. She said, Uncle Joe, slow Joe. Is Joe slow? Do you think that is going to weigh in on people thinking that does he have the wherewithal to be the president at his age? Is he starting to diminish in mental capacity? What do you think?
I don't think Joe is slow. I think Joe, and one of the things that I posted way early on in the summer, Joe struggles with a speech impediment, and it is very difficult. He has to do a lot of concentration in order to speak coherently. He is a stutterer, and he has to overcome that every time he speaks. And people they take that as him being slow, but that is his way of he has to do certain things to communicate through that stuttering. So no, I don't think he's slow at all. I think he's trying to overcome an impediment, a speech impediment, in a profession where you got to talk all the time. And he and what he uses to do that takes time for him to process and bring out what he has to say. So no, I do not think he's slow. I think the orange man is crazy, but I don't think he's slow. I don't think he has a mental incapacity.
I think he's old. And I think that Trump is old. And I think that two old white men fighting to get into office. I think one of the things that spoiled us as a country about, the Kennedys and about even Obama is the youthfulness that they brought to the position. So I think because Joe is old, that Trump can attempt to attack whether or not he's senile or not. But Trump is a megalomaniac. He is absolutely, positively the most dangerous president we've ever had in the history of America because he does not care. I feel like I am up under some sort of Orwellian spell and that this is 1984 and that if he says that it's fake news, if he says, I didn't say that, and he literally said it 5 seconds ago, like I feel like this fool is literally doing Jedi mind tricks on half of the nation. And so I think they just two old dudes picking at the old things about them. I don't think that Joe is slow Joe, but I think that campaign came together because they are attacking his inability to stay on track with the teleprompter, as if Trump hasn't done this a million times. We've seen Trump right now during COVID briefings, not even being able to read the piece of paper that's in front of his face. So, I mean, both of them are showing signs of age, I think.
I think this is probably the last old set that we'll see
Child
running for president.
No lips to God's
ear. I do. I believe that.
Sheesh.
Gentlemen, what do you think? Anything to add to that?
So go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, no, I don't. Again, there's, the Trump base is going to say, Sleepy Joe, he's, old, this, that, and the third. I think people, the majority of people that have common sense, they're going to see, that Joe was actually trying to participate in the debate.
Yeah.
Versus a guy who has no debating. That wasn't a debate. That was just him being acting like a toddler and trying to talk over everybody.
Right.
And trying to interject, flat out lies at every moment. He even when he brought up the Charlottesville thing and Joe was talking about how he made the statement about very fine people on both sides. He's sitting over there shaking his head saying, I never said that, when it's on tape that he said it.
Fake news.
So, the people that, that think that Joe is too slow or too old or whatever, they again, in my opinion, they already thought that, but I think that people with common sense are going to see, what a maniac this dude is and how he exhibited that, earlier, I guess last night now because it's after midnight.
Hey, Gerald, you want to add?
Yeah, so my thinking is that Joe is just Uncle Joe.
Yep.
That uncle that you got in your family that at any given moment, if he snap, he gonna snap.
Yep. I agree.
And he's trying to keep his cool
Mm-hmm.
and be cool Joe and not break into what his natural is, which is Uncle Joe, and cuss everybody out.
Yep. I agree with that.
I also think that with Obama, it shows how Obama kept Cool Joe cool all those years. Um, and so uh, with Biden, I look at his record more so than I can look at Trump's record. And when I say his record is because with everything that Joe had going on in his life, Joe is real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Through everything that he went through, from his wife and his son dying and his first child dying and all the other kind of stuff, through all the adversity, I'm surprised Joe is who he is.
Yeah.
And so I look
That's a
at
good
that,
point.
Joe is real. And Joe is that uncle that you and I have in our family and who could snap at any moment on
Yeah.
somebody.
Yeah.
And he has.
And my uncles would have, so that's why I give them kudos. They would have.
And he couldn't snap though because
Good.
he doesn't. He's not granted that same
Yeah.
latitude from
Exactly.
people or particularly from the media. Trump
Exactly.
can act a fool and do all that other stuff and is expected from him and he gets a pass. If
Mhm.
Joe had acted like that, you know, it would have been a loss for him.
Yeah.
You
And-
know, so as much as some people think he should stoop to that level,
No.
like from an optics, standpoint, he can't.
Yeah. He had
And
to
he
go
needs
out.
he needs to stay on that same path.
Yes, I agree.
So
Afterwards, we'll all snap. After he wins, we'll all go that route.
Right.
So kind of related to that, because right when you said that it's expected for Trump to cut up and act a fool when he can get away with that. Considering that, do you think that Chris Wallace was the right moderator for this?
I don't think that. I'm sorry.
reality?
I don't mean
think
to
there
talk
is.
over everybody.
Oh, no.
I'm with you. That's exactly what I was about to say. I don't think there is anybody
Yep.
who can control that man.
Yep.
His own people can't even control him.
Mm-mm.
They have to go off of what he says and after the fact, spin it
Clean
or
up.
tell a lie and clean it all up.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, he didn't say that. He did. And you know he said that. That's why the turnover in his administration, which is another point that should have been brought out.
Yes.
The turnover in his administration is awful.
Mhm.
I
It
think
is
Biden
ridiculous.
said a quick
Yeah,
thing
Biden-
about he
Biden
can't keep.
actually did
He did mention that you can't keep anybody. You fire them when they do their job or something like that. He mentioned that.
He mentioned, yep.
feel bad though for Chris Wallace. I was saying with LaShawn very early on, he was losing control when he just said stop, because stop is what you say to your children when
Yeah.
they're running around
Right.
and just kind of like freeze.
I wonder if
Right.
he could have turned his mic
Chris
off.
Wallace was like, stop trying to.
They need to
trying
have
go-
the ability to do so.
Then,
Yeah,
But-
that would be the only way to
turn his
really
mic
be able
off.
to- yeah.
but understand this. If they turn his mic off, then it's censorship.
Yeah, that's
And
true.
they'll spin it in that way.
It'll be fake
Don't
news.
let-
Anything that's said is now super fake news because they wouldn't even let
Right.
me.
If you
Yeah.
let him
Right.
talk,
They're
if you
in the
let him,
tank.
if you let a fool talk long enough, you'll find out how foolish he is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's super incompetent.
Yeah, Valencia saying in the comments, no moderator can control him, but Lemon and Cuomo would have let him have it. What do you think?
I think they would have got served just like Wallace did.
Yeah.
I agree. Nobody can handle this fool. The thing is, he don't think he has anything to lose.
No.
He's a spin doctor. Like, he doesn't think he have anything to lose. And if he just starts hollering and over talking and being a pit bull, every last one of them, because I was even like, Anderson Cooper could have gotten, no, he couldn't have. Everybody would have got served just like Wallace. He was in a no-win situation, which is possibly why they cannot have another presidential debate. No moderator is going to be able to manage that. And the moderator is going to end up looking like an embarrassment, because while we're sitting here calmly saying that there was no way that Chris or any other moderator would have been able to deal with that, it's going to be a mar on his record and his ability and his competency, because he couldn't calm two grown men down when one was completely over talking everybody in the room. No moderator can win up under that. I wouldn't even sign up for that shit. I can't win. I can't help.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I think Chris Wallace somewhat expected I don't think he ever imagined it was going to be to that extent.
Yeah.
And I don't think anybody,
the world.
nobody imagined that.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was in over his head, and he probably prepared for some of that. I don't think anybody thought that, that Trump was going to be what he was last night.
Yeah.
And I was in over my head too,
Same.
watching it.
I never expected
In life.
I didn't expect that at all. I knew it was gonna be crazy, but I never expected that.
Football.
So the last thing, because it's 12:10, there were 6 questions, right? And so which of the 6 would you want to hear about, or do you think is most important? Which was most important to you to hear the answer, even if you didn't hear it?
Wallace asked, why should the American people vote for you and not the other guy? And I didn't, I just knew that was going to be the moment that Trump just shut up so that he could plead his case to the American people, not interrupt. That would have been a keen moment for him to show some decorum. But he was argumentative. That question and climate change were probably some of the ones that were of most value to me.
Okay.
I don't know. I would say next to it would either be the question on race relations or the law and order question. I think it's weird because Trump was trying to have it both ways. He went from the race question. The first thing he went to with Biden was the 94 crime bill. Mm-hmm. But then he turned around and in the same breath said, oh, well, he's soft on crime and I'm the law and order. So which is it?
Yeah.
Was he too tough on crime with the 94 crime bill, or is he soft on crime with what's going on now, which consequently is happening under your watch, Mr. President? So I don't get that. And he, of course he kept trying to throw out Biden and the Democrats, they want to defund the police, and that just wasn't the case. Biden has actually been criticized by progressives for not backing the defund the police movement. He has said on more than one occasion they need more money.
Right.
So
yeah,
he was. I mean, he didn't answer anything, but he was really, to me, I thought he was really kind of on his, he was skating. He was on skates. Yes. He was on his heels with that question, because he wants so badly to be able to paint Joe as a socialist.
Right.
And
correct.
And unfortunately, you know, Joe really being a lifelong centrist, that just doesn't stick to him.
Right. He tried tonight really badly tonight. You know, when he was talking about his Green Deal, and he said, no, I'm
Right.
talking about Joe Biden's Green Bill. I'm not talking about the people in, you know, in Congress. I'm talking about my Green Bill, you know. So yeah, he can't label him that way.
So my two questions would have been the one on race relations, and then the question that Phoenix was talking about, the one about why should America choose you? And it should have stopped right there. It should have stopped at why should America choose you? I don't care why you think they shouldn't choose the person that's running against you, but why should they choose you? Especially if you are the sitting president. You should have at least 10 reasons why I should choose you based on what you've done over the last 4 years.
Make your
And
case.
I didn't hear that. I didn't hear. It's kind of like a job interview. I don't know why I should choose. I stopped that question in the job interview at why should I choose you? I don't ask about the other candidates that's going to come before me or that's been before me, but why should I choose you for this position? What have you done and what are you going to do with this position?
I remember when Obama was running for second term and, you know, people kept saying, the Republican Party kept saying to him, yeah, you know, he's running for president. And to your point, Jay, he was like, I'm not just running for president. I am the president of the United States of America. Right. So I don't need you all to qualify what it is. And I'm not about to fight on what you all are doing. The reason why you need to vote for me is because I am the president of the United States of America right now, not somebody that's just running for the seat again. I'm in here and I'm doing the job. And that's why I said, like, I felt like this was a beautiful opportunity for Trump to really, like the megalomaniac and that he is, this was the perfect opportunity for you to use those 2 minutes to shine. And you spent all that time cutting down your opponent. I still don't know anything about, I was never going to vote for you anyway because you're crazy, but I don't know what you hold as a value because y'all spending too much time attacking each other.
Well, the reason he didn't do that is because what he really had to hang his hat on was the economy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And he screwed the economy with his handling of the pandemic.
Exactly.
So that's why you keep hearing him say, oh, well, you know, it's coming back, you know, faster than anybody thought, and the stock market is up, because that was what he had. Like before COVID-19, he was going to ride the economy all the way to November.
And he could have.
But the reason you didn't hear him expound on that tonight is because of how he handled the pandemic. That screwed up his case for the economy. So he's trying to reach back and say, oh, well, before the pandemic, you know, we had the strongest economy, you know, ever. And then even Chris Wallace, you know, told him, well, you know, Obama, his last 3 years in office, you know, he created more jobs than you did your first 3 years.
Right.
And, you know, of course, he called Chris a liar and said that was
it was true, slow growth. It was the slowest growth in American history. Recovery.
Yeah. But that was my biggest thing. Yeah, I wanted to know what Trump was going to say about his handling of the coronavirus. I didn't expect for him to be truthful, but that was the thing I wanted to hear, what he was going to say and what Biden was going to say. Okay, now here's the path out of this. I wanted to see, you know, was he going to capitalize on a better reopening plan for the country and states and recommendations? That's what I was hoping that he would try to lay out to some degree.
And
I did that for Trump.
And how did he really, with a straight face, bring up swine flu in comparison?
Because he was desperate. He was grasping for struggle.
And Joe had that number available.
Because he wasn't prepared for it.
he told them flat out. He said 14,000 people died from that versus over 200,000, and we didn't have to shut down the economy.
Yes, you heard that, right? Yeah.
Right.
That was my number one. I wanted to hear what they were going to say about the poor handling of the coronavirus.
Because this is essentially, Dad, what they're going to do when they get into office. Like, no, all roads still lead to COVID. I mean, climate change, economy, our relationships with other countries, none of that matters until you get us back up and run. You get this disease under control, you get us up and running. And to have these, like even Joe touched on it a little bit, like they didn't get to dig deep because it was so argumentative, but even Joe touched on, even if you got the test approved this year, we wouldn't be able to start distributing them. We couldn't start mass distributing until the middle of next year. So right now, we got to focus on PPE and making sure that people are safe so that we can get the economy back up and running. Those are the kind of details that we need right now, because that needs to be your first agenda in office. I don't want to hear, honestly, what you're going to do for Black people and how you're going to take care of me at this point. People need to go back to work. People need to feel safe going back to school. People want to go and hug their parents. Like, we need to feel safe to go and fellowship with my person. Can I stop meeting y'all in a Zoom? Can we have these kinds of debates in person? I'm tired. My eyes are tired. My heart is tired with having human connections through technology right now. So we got to get the world, but COVID should have been the number one topic of the night. COVID plus economy is the only thing that matters for January 21.
Yeah, and the reason, the other thing, I wanted to hear what he was going to say about his taxes. I just wanted to hear.
Right.
I just wanted to hear it. I wasn't going to believe it. I wanted to hear what he was going to come up.
He paid millions and millions. You heard what he said. However much that is.
Yes, he did. Millions and millions.
And going back to even the COVID question, a solution is not a vaccine that's in the testing process.
Right.
Bruh.
That is not a guarantee. How many vaccines are in a testing process even to this day that's been in a testing process that have not been certified that it can cure whatever it is that is designed to cure, that we're still going through testing processes on? That's not a solution. A solution is shut the whole country down for 2 weeks and let's get rid of it. There are other
China's example. China
are the worst. We are the worst at this.
Yeah.
Other countries are so much better and how they've handled it than we are.
They were restricting our travel to Italy, and now Europe is like, y'all can't come over here.
Right.
You can't come into our country because y'all can't get that under control.
We can't even go to Canada.
Canada is like, we fine if y'all never come back. We good.
We can't
Ain't
go
that something?
We can't go to Canada.
We love you from over here.
Right.
Love you from over here.
We'll wave at you from the bank of the Detroit River.
So Val, what were your two or two of yours?
For the COVID plan, for sure. And then I really didn't have, I didn't like that they linked race, relations, and violence together. I didn't like that.
Yeah.
I didn't like that was the linked together. But for me, I really wanted to hear the COVID plan. That's what I wanted to hear. Everything else, they talked about the courts, but I wasn't expecting any revelations there,
Yeah.
but I for me, it was COVID. I wanted to see, he keeps saying, we've got a plan, we've got a plan, we've got a plan. But we've never seen Trump's plan.
Never.
He's never laid it out.
Well, I'll say I didn't think about it till you just mentioned COVID, but I probably the healthcare question was up there with me as well.
Good.
And just like with the COVID plan, his healthcare plan has yet to be revealed. Yeah. The plan that he talked about during his first campaign, when he talked about doing away with the ACA, and he said, "Well, I got a plan that's going to be better than Obamacare and it's going to be cheaper and cover more people, and we still haven't seen it.
Yeah.
But he's going out of his way
Fine.
to, to do away with Obamacare for no other reason other than the fact that it has Obama's name on it.
Right.
Yeah.
And for the people who aren't, for the people who don't know any better, he's talking about, oh, well, I'm going to sign this executive order to protect pre-existing conditions. That doesn't mean anything if the actual ACA law goes away.
Right.
That
Right.
executive order means nothing.
Right.
So you he's doing a bait and switch. He's like, look over here, don't look there. So look at me saying I'm signing this executive order to take care of you, but then over here he's trying to rush through the Supreme Court justice so that on November 10th they can strike that law down.
Right.
Yeah.
So in the middle of a pandemic, you want less people to have health care.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking about the Supreme Court justice. I wondered if anybody was going to raise that because that's a whole other show. I'd love to have y'all come back and talk. As a matter of fact, if there are more debates, I hope that all of you will come back and share some more commentary before them or after them, whether or not there is this disappearing 14% or not. I think people should vote their conscience, but I really think that people should think about how these candidates are presenting themselves, not very much differently, from my estimation, than what we have seen, especially from Mr. Trump. But if that doesn't do it for you for a reality show host and how he conducts himself in a reality, in a pandemic, in a season where he needs to step up and stand up and be president, then you have the facts before you. I mean, that's not something you have to fact check necessarily, but you still have to fact check it, depending on where, if you vote party lines. But thank you so much, Byron Stanfield, LaShawn Coteran, Valerie Cobardose-Nwady, J. Gerald Harvey IV. I hope that you will come back if there is another debate. I value you. As a matter of fact, for those of you that might still be watching Love and Stuff started because Byron was sharing a Huffington Post article about faithless electors, which I have forgotten from civics and social studies from years before. And I said, let's get a campaign to change what is happening so that we can make a difference. People started to react to that, and instead of getting deep into the issue, they started looking at each other. They started saying, hey, he's not only intelligent, he's kind of cute. Is he single? And that's where Love and Stuff was born. We started having conversations in the inbox about why people in the 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s couldn't find love. That's how it was born. And so we're kind of coming back to the beginning of it, talking that here we are again in a political cycle, talking about things that matter. So whether or not you find love in this moment, I hope you find the love to vote. And so that you have somebody
Please do.
get out and vote and make a difference and be heard. Don't be among the people that say you're going to complain about the lesser of two evils. Get out and make a decision. Now, in my heart of hearts, the decision is clear for you, but maybe it's not clear for you. So go pray if it's not clear for you. But make a decision and vote for the candidate of your choice, which I hope is Joe Biden.
Joe Biden.
The candidate of your choice, but at least get out there and vote your conscience, because I think our future really does depend on it. And so I thank all of you for engaging tonight. It's almost 12:30, so I appreciate the late owls and the early hours. Like LaShawn Phoenix Coteran said, share this widely so that we can get people out to vote, especially in the swing states. And I think I'll have you guys come back and talk about the swing states so we can get people out to vote.
Let's flip the Senate.
Let's flip the Senate. What else?
That's the number one. Vote straight ticket, Democratic.
Vote straight ticket.
Right?
And watch this. And wait. And your local judges and your local everything else that doesn't have a party attached to it.
Local elections matter.
Do your research and know who it is
You vote
and
for.
vote wisely.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm always amazed mostly that people don't vote because a lot of people have matters that come before judges. I'm always surprised
Yeah,
we're not interested in who we put on the bench because a
Right.
lot of our life matters come before the bench.
yeah,
And at the local level.
yep,
They don't rise as much to the federal level as people think. It's
Yeah.
the local level. Those district court judges and those circuit court judges.
girl, yes.
Right. Thank you all. Thank you those that are on the Marcus at Home page, loving stuff,
Thank you.
YouTube, Twitch TV. I appreciate you all. Share widely. Have a great night.
All
Good
right.
night.
Good night.